as a lot of y'all know, I tried to make friends with one of the Shiners. I tried to make friends with Simcast. And once again, she has turned on me, and now she, I guess, doesn't talk to me anymore, which is fine. And no, I don't care if I look bad. I don't care anything about that. But I have noticed something over there, and y'all were right about Simcast, that she would turn on me and eventually, not be loyal.
You know when someone's tone of voice and facial expressions and body language doesn't actually match what they're saying? Well, it's called bravado. And I'm going to tell you more about this because I've got an upcoming episode coming up about this guy, and people contacted me, telling me things that his wife has been saying. His wife has apparently found out who I am. And I'll talk about that in an upcoming episode, which I'm overdue to make. But today I want to talk about the other Justin Timberlake, the superstar, Justin Timberlake, the hard worker, Justin Timberlake, the multimillionaire, Justin Timberlake, who has multiple record-breaking songs behind him, Justin Timberlake, who gets up and works for his family, Justin Timberlake, who dated Britney Spears. And I want to talk about the things that Britney has written in her latest book about iconic Justin Timberlake, an icon. Cry me, cry me. Remember that song by Justin Timberlake, Cry Me a River? Well, we all thought, or many of us thought, that there was a hidden meaning behind that song, that Britney had done something, and that was what this song was about. Well, it turns out after reading her book that none of it, that song was just a song, and there was an implication there that she had done something, and that was the way he dealt with it. And it turns out that that was not the case, unfounded, wasn't the case at all. And I'm going to talk about this later because I want to clear up some things before I get to that. I listened to the audio book of of Britney's new memoir. And I hope Justin writes a memoir one day. I don't know if he has. I don't remember if he did. Maybe he has and I just haven't read it. But I just wanted to say some things because narratives that are put out there, particularly when it comes to the Watt case, can be so skewed. And it turns out that Britney is completely innocent of what that implication of that song was and that video. But I want to clear some other stuff, some Watts Island related stuff, and just set the record straight about some things and give you my opinion. Oh, and by the way, I never turned on Justin. I simply stopped speaking to him when I realized what he was all about. I think the biggest compliment that I can give to him is that I no longer see him turning up on my browser homepage and that he stayed away. Bravo to him for that. I hope he doesn't bother coming back. I think he should just work on being a good dad, basically, and trying to get a job to support his family. Anyway, I'll be putting out a video on him soon because there's a lot of things that I've discovered, and also people have been contacting me about him, and I'll explain that to you another time. So in the aftermath of AD no longer being here, and I always believe that AD's got something up his sleeve. Like, I don't know. I did say that he would go back to the Watts case in some capacity. I'd been saying that. Even though he told me he would never return to that case, I always knew in my heart that he'd go back to it. And I think AD is completely responsible for what, I think he's responsible for his own behavior. I don't have any sympathy. I think he belongs on Rumble, to be quite honest with you. At the end of the day, had he stuck maybe to another case or done another case or actually took some responsibility and said, maybe I shouldn't be, maybe Project NK wasn't a good idea or isn't a good idea. Had he actually learned his lesson, listened, maybe he would still be here. Who knows? But in the aftermath of him leaving YouTube, there's this, whisper about him possibly getting compensation from a certain person. AD will never get compensation, even in the extremely unlikely event that he was awarded compensation in court. Who's going to give him that compensation? Certainly not anyone from this platform. What, because he was called something? Well, hasn't he been saying that and more about NK for many, many years? Should NK get compensation for the things he said about her? Well, it's never going to happen. This idea that AD is going to get compensation is never going to happen, because whatever has happened regarding AD, he brought it on himself, as far as I'm concerned. Now, Star Mama paid my channel a visit yesterday or today, and she wrote me a long comment, and I'm going to address some of the things that she said. Star Mama used to be on Miss Mensa's channel. They were buddies for a very long time, and then she's basically left Mensa's channel, and now she's constantly on Dave's channel. Let me just pause for a breath here. Now, when I say that Justin, the reaction video maker, when I say he stayed away, he's still on YouTube, watching videos, and he's still around. He's just not been participating very much in making videos of his own. But, he probably will come back to, if he needs some supply of the fuel, because that's what he's about. He's all about getting supply, fuel, attention. And, he really does see his subs as ATM. So I'm not saying that he won't come back. But I'm glad that he stayed away for at least the time, for a short time at least. I was watching this documentary on Milli Vanilli on Paramount. I watched the documentary, and I've spoken about them before. These two guys who were used as frontmen for a group, and they weren't really singing on the records. The original singers, or the real singers, were not as eye candy as they were. And that's one of the reasons why they became so famous, because of how they looked, how they danced, the chemistry they had. And I really see that with the NK situation in the Watts case. Dave and AD would not have used her so much if she wasn't attractive. And, that's the illusion, her attractiveness. It was never about justice with them. It's about using her because she's attractive, she attracts attention, and because of how many people want to believe that she's to blame. So it's basically, that's the reason why she was used so much. And AD wanted to use her again, recycle the Watts case by using her, because he saw that people were getting views from that. And he wanted some of those views, and he wanted to cash in. That's my personal opinion. Now, I did say that Star Mama paid my channel a visit. Yes, she did. And she wrote me a long message. Star Mama seems like a very, I don't know. She seems like somebody who is blind to a lot of things, or she doesn't want to, there's so much that seems to be twisted up in her head about so many different things. And she never has anything to back up any of her beliefs. One of the things that she's claimed is that Frankie wasn't allowed to be around his nieces, and I've repeatedly said that that is not the case. There's a photograph with Frankie and his nieces on his channel. And I think there might even be a clip in the Netflix documentary where Frankie is seen with his nieces running around in the garden. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But there is no document to substantiate the claim that Frankie wasn't allowed to see his nieces. In fact, he had done, and he did see them. He may have only seen them once or twice in their entire lives. They're kids in my family that have been born over the last 3 years that I've never met. Doesn't mean anything. It can just be circumstances that have stopped me from seeing them, busy schedules, or living in different parts of the country or different parts of the world. And in this case, Shanann and Chris lived in Colorado, and they lived away from their families, so they didn't get to physically see their families as often. But I think Star Mama seems to be very skewed in some of her opinions, and there's just nothing to substantiate that claim whatsoever. I also want to say something about Dave. I don't watch Dave much anymore. He made a video where he was talking about, I'll click on something every now and then, but I can't sit through all that body cam footage most of the time. He made a video about people of Colorado's exhibits and pictures that were shown. And he made the point that Ronnie and Cindy weren't featured in these exhibits. Well, Weld County and the people of Colorado aren't there to boo-hoo Cindy and Ronnie Watts. They're there to do a job, and they've done their jobs. They don't have to feel sympathy for Cindy and Ronnie. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't feel sympathy for them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying Weld County and the people of Colorado can choose whatever photographs they want to display. And it never had to include Cindy and Ronnie. I'll tell you why. Their son is alive and well. And on the other side of the family, well, Shanann, she's not as alive and well as Chris is she? So that's the reason why more attention was given to that side of the family, because of the circumstances. It's not Weld County or the people of Colorado's position or job to be emotional about everything and to pay everyone equal attention. That's not their job. And I'm not saying, everyone should have a little bit of sympathy for Cindy and Ronnie, or even a lot of sympathy if they want, but the people of Colorado don't have to. So I just wanted to clear some stuff up, within the community and online. And I just want to end this by saying, Britney Spears wrote this book, and you can believe what you want. And there's two sides to every story. And I think there's at least three sides to every story. But there was this illusion made because of that song that Justin made, Cry Me a River, that Britney had done something that had caused him to write this song and cause that reaction. And it was implied in the video that it was Britney who had done something in that relationship. And it turns out, if you believe what she writes in her book, that it wasn't the case, that he was the one who had the woman, and he was the one who was very much a playboy. And she had one dalliance with somebody else, but they moved past it. And, basically the shade was placed on her for what had happened in that relationship. And apparently the end of the relationship had nothing to do with anything that she'd done. But he made this implication in interviews and in that song that she was at fault and that she'd done something. And it turns out that that was just a song he wrote, and he just kind of made up that narrative to sell that song. And that is what this podcast is all about. It's about illusions. It is about illusions. And there are so many illusions created with the Watts case. So many. And, I was quite surprised when I found out that all of this Cry Me a River, this song that had been so popular, I thought it was based on a real story about Britney doing what she did. And it turns out that wasn't the case at all.